Oh, that's awful. Check, check. Why can I hear? Check, check. Okay, that works. All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? Coach Bruce is in the building. Um, I still have this cough, and I'm trying my best to fight it off, but man, it is kicking my butt. Um, so, getting back into what we've been talking about this whole time, we've been talking about the ADHD struggles that I have noticed most greatly affecting ADHD men, and the way I would coach them if this were my coachee, my client. Um, so far, here's what we've been through. We've gone through hyperfixation yesterday. Before that was follow through, or the other way around, masking and making things bigger than they are. Today is part 5 of the ADHD struggle series, emotional regulation. This is something that I still like. You know, growth is a process. It is a continual like cycle of acceptance, growth, and just continually doing it. So this is something I accept that I'm definitely still growing on. Whenever I get upset, it is hard for me to to process those emotions in a way that allows me to represent myself as I want to in life. But I have moved greatly down the line of development as far as it concerns what I want in life, because I used to have just really explosive anger issues, and I've broken a lot of things. Like I've never hurt anybody because of my anger, but besides myself, like bloody knuckles and costing myself lots of money by getting angry and not knowing what to do with my anger except to put my hand through a drywall or to break my door. It's something that is the hardest part about it for me for a long time was the embarrassment that would set in as I finally started to calm down after I'd broken something. It's like now everybody's going to be able to see how big of a mess I am, and so that kind of fed back into the other part of me masking and pretending like everything was okay, because obviously it was not. Like, how'd your door get broken? I just got a little bit angry, and that's obviously not a healthy way to process that anger. But whenever you're trying to keep a little all the time and letting that pressure build and build, even though you are not okay, you're not handling it well, you are upset. Um, Eventually, it's going to spill out in an unhealthy way. So, what I would say to somebody who is struggling with emotional regulation is like maybe stop struggling with it and just try to accept that those emotions are something that are powerful to you, and don't pretend like you don't feel them. Like, acknowledge these emotions, acknowledge that what they're doing, acknowledge, yes, if you had a situation where you got into an argument with your spouse, or you blew up at your kids because they did this, the thing that is overstimulating to you, instead of like beating yourself up so much to where you aren't able to engage in your life in a meaningful way, say, wow, I did that. That was tough. but it's okay. I'm going to try to not do that in the future. I'm going to try to continue to grow, but that's where I was at that moment. And as unfortunate as that was for the people who it affected, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to tell them that I didn't mean to take it out on them, and I'm working to to not do that again in the future. But it might happen. Like, give yourself grace. Allow yourself room to both grow and to make mistakes. Whenever you have like a strong set of limiting beliefs, it doesn't give you any room for anything. As soon as you make a mistake, you beat yourself up to the point where you aren't able to take a step forward anymore because there's too much pressure pushing you back. Um, and on the same like to the same degree of not allowing for failure, you also don't allow yourself to grow because you're so strict about what growth looks like. Growth may be one step forward, or sorry, two steps forward, one step back. That's still growth. It's still moving forward. And I encourage you to accept that growth, however it comes and however it's happening and wherever you are right now. If you haven't grown at all, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to start being a working towards a better version of yourself. But I think it starts with accepting yourself as you are. It starts with saying, these are the issues I'm struggling with. This is where I need to develop my self-awareness more so I can address those areas and grow and embrace myself in this space. So then I'm a stronger version of myself, even with everything that is happening, even with all the things I'm doing wrong. I'm stronger because I at least love myself. If nothing else, I can love myself, and from there you can grow farther, faster, grow higher, all those good things. So I've been talking about, along with ADHD struggles, I've also been talking about some ADHD career advancement hacks. So here's part 6, and I cannot stress this enough. Like, we are not the same as neurotypical people. Like, we're not the same. So especially in the workforce, we cannot expect to play by the same rules without some sort of modifications. It's unlikely that the career field that you've chosen is going to make those accommodations for you. So it's on you to go above and beyond to adjust the situation for you to succeed. And what I mean by that is, um, you are likely not going to handle disappointments in the workplace the same as neurotypical people. Like, those normies can just press that stuff down and move on, and that's perfectly okay with them. As much as it's not healthy for anybody to do, a neurotypical person can handle pressing those things down. But that disconnection between our the executive dysfunction gap of like knowing better versus doing better, sometimes it's saying like knowing I'm upset but I'm trying to hide it. It doesn't actually communicate that to your face, or it doesn't communicate it all the way to your face to a degree in which you are saying I'm fine, I'm not angry at all, but your face looks like you're about to go into a fist fight and just try to knock out somebody who called your mama ugly. So it's a mismatch. And as much as other people may not be able to figure out exactly what you're feeling, they're going to read it as a mismatch, and it's going to it triggers off something subconscious, which makes people feel uneasy about you. Have you ever seen like a pack of dogs, and whenever one dog is um, one dog is acting a little off, it's being a little whiny or whatever, the alpha dog comes and just starts mauling that one that's acting weird. That is a trait of like all mammals who like that work in packs, which we do, is that we sense whenever somebody is not quite all there. I'm not going to say that you're not quite right. It's not that. It's that you're hiding something, and so something's off, and that something being off just triggers something in people who have to deal with you on a regular basis. So when they feel that thing, they start to pull back from you, start to ask questions, start to question about what your reasonings are. They For me, like, let's go back to the fire department. For me, I used to. I used to think that everything that happened in the fire department um, was somebody else's fault. And there was a lot of, like, I can say, very objective isolation, um, workplace harassment, like lots of things that were definitely objectively bad. But there were a couple things that, like, as I feel like as I learned more and more about my ADHD and uh, its ability to affect my relationships, I look back and I say, well, that makes a lot more sense now, because people would say things like, "We don't think you're here for the right reasons." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's a career. I'm here to make money and provide for my family." That was true, but what I realize now is that the alpha in the building was always nipping at me because I was hiding who I really was. Um, they told me to hide it. They were mean to me and told me, like, don't talk so much. We don't care what you think, blah blah blah. But whenever I conformed and tried to pretend to be the person that they wanted me to be, I just became this, like, gross, distorted version of myself. As much as I thought I was putting on a good front, they liked me even less because they just felt like something was off with me. And I would have been much better served to having if I would have told them to go fuck themselves, and I would have just said, "This is who I am, and you can't fire me. Like, you can't fire me for having ideas and for wanting to work around things and for wanting to understand why things are done certain ways. Like, if I'm not actively doing my job wrong, you can't do anything to me. Like, you can't. There's nothing you can do. You can treat me like shit, which you already do. So if I would have just leaned into who I was, they probably would have started to get along with me because I would have stopped giving off that, like, air that something's just off. They would have said, "Well, we just don't like him because he's his own way, and at least that's who he is." And then they would have started to come through that who I am gets the job done, but wants to understand things. I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to explain that, but that would have served me a lot better than just conforming to who they wanted me to be and still getting bullied on a regular basis anyway. So that's one. ADHD career hack. Sorry, let's try it again. ADHD career advancement hack part 7. So if you're like I was, like, even after being medicated for years and years, you are going to struggle with regulating emotions. This hack is more of a newsflash. You're just not nearly as good as thinking. Oh my God. You are just not nearly as good as you think you are at hiding your epic disappointment over being passed over for, like, a great opportunity, or your anger over being cut off during a presentation to the team. Um, I already went over most of this. For some reason, I thought I had two separate points to make here. The two separate points is you're going to have to modify the rules of the game, and you are going to have to go above and beyond to talk to your supervisors to let them know that you are going to need longer to recover from those things. Like, you're going to have, like, you being passed over for something that you really wanted, that you really think you deserved, is going to affect you longer. It's not going to affect your work, but you're going to carry that longer than somebody else because your emotional regulation, it's just different, and that's okay. And if you talk to your supervisors in a way that says, this isn't going to affect you or my work, it's only going to affect me and the way that you know the way that I come across when I talk to people for a little while. If you come and talk to me right after I lost out on a promotion, I'm going to be angry and I'm going to try to act like I'm not, and you're going to know that something's wrong. Know that it's not because I'm trying to hide something from you. I'm trying to be okay with the thing. And I feel like it's a more solid foundation to work from than just trying to hide all the time, because once again it comes off as weird. And, like, how many different ADHD people do you know who thought who talked about just crushing it in a job, just doing so well, and then they just, as far as they report the story, and then just kind of out of nowhere they got fired. It's a common thing. It's not because you weren't doing awesome at the job. It's because there are complex social, like, hierarchies and structures that are, like, in effect, that we don't necessarily get to be a part of because we don't really. I don't know. Part of it is that the system isn't made for us, but knowing that the system's not made for us, if you can, endear yourself to a person who has, like, sway over the system and say, "Hey, I just want you to know, like, you think I'm a great worker. We get along really great. this is a thing that I struggle with. And I think that if you know about it, you can help me whenever these things start to, be talked about by other people. You can help to crush some of that sentiment that maybe I'm not right for this team or whatever, by just building those relationships and having people understand what you're going through. So that's that. That's what I would talk about whenever I talk about emotional regulation, is that it's definitely a process. It definitely is not an overnight fix. um, I talk about having your core foundations and your core foundational values and beliefs. If you have those and you have started to act in a way where those things are really being taken into the way that you act on a day-to-day basis, you're going to start to be able to just perform a little bit better whenever it comes to regulating your emotions. Because once again, removing some of the stress from your overall regular life makes ADHD easier to manage. Like, for you, you may have really, really hard ADHD to manage, but there are things you can do to make it easier to manage your ADHD without actually addressing your ADHD at all. It's about addressing the stress factors in your life and the systems in which you work in to guide your life. So I feel like this has been the most scatterbrained live I've had in a while, but emotional regulation is like, it is a personal and powerful thing for me, and I know that it's a hard struggle, but there is a way to do it better. There is a way to engage in your life with emotion, because that was a big problem for me, is like I used to just turn it off. Like, I would just not be affected by anything until it was something that brought the anger out of me, like the big bad anger. Like, that's the only thing that would get me to really engage in any kind of emotion. Like, that's not a way to live. But then the reason why I did that was because I was afraid to let the big bad anger out, because it was dangerous. Like, I'm a 350-pound black man. Like, I'm not in a position to be walking around angry all the time, because people see me as intimidating already, even whenever I'm in a good mood. So if I was walking around angry all the time, like, that's not a safe way for me to be in life. But I learned that if I just start to access my emotions and be honest with them and be honest about them, like, yeah, like, I'm upset right now. Like, that really hurt my feelings, and I give voice to what has upset me, versus like just trying to all the time make other people happy and placate them and not ever have anybody upset at us, because it's impossible. You deserve to feel your feelings just as much as anybody else, and being honest about that and owning those feelings makes it so much easier to have them and move through them, versus like fight with them all the time and then use them to fight with other people. So um yeah, good luck regulating your emotions. And if you have questions about that, please comment and throw something in the comments. And um yeah, I would love to help. So that's it for today. Wrapping it up, keeping it short. As always, be yourself. I picked up another client for my mini coaching packages, so I'm going to take on two more. So I've got room for two more clients in my free mini coaching sessions. And once again, that is 4 free weeks of 30-minute coaching sessions, just to help set, hopefully, like one singular realistic goal of something that I can help you attain in your life. Whether it's just building a foundation, like building your operational manual that helps you navigate your life, or if it's um, helping you change the attitude of your inner dialogue. If it's we're just going to try to take on one thing and make an actual difference in your life in 4 weeks. So um, until next time, be yourself and love yourself. Have a great night.